Yeah.
Watch it.
Oh, I thought that was a bag of chips.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Heat detector set button on.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. No, wait. No, that's not it.
Before you start,
Yeah, my bad.
you just saw the disclaimer. Hope you read it. Hope you understood it. But to add to that, the views and opinions of us do not necessarily reflect that of Unwrap, the podcast channel.
Yep,
This is for entertainment purposes only.
yep.
Please keep in mind there will be some profanity,
Mm-hmm.
probably some racy topics.
Racy?
Racy.
Okay.
Back to the profanity. Don't forget about that.
Don't forget.
A lot of that.
A lot of it.
Big bucket full.
Big buckets.
But other than that,
It's on rap, baby. It's on rap, baby. It's on rap, baby. You already know what it is, man. I am your boy, Heat Detector. See what I'm doing, man?
Jasmine,
No, I'm.
that was
See that?
respectable.
That was decent. That was respectful.
That was respectable.
A little bit.
I'm not mad at that.
I'll let it slide.
That was warm. You know,
It was a warm welcome.
It was.
I'm not accustomed to that, so that's why every time we do the show, I gotta wait and see what the fuck's going on.
Don't get carried away.
All right, I won't. All right, and to my left, we got the impeccable, the incredible, the Nash Vino in the damn building. See, this is the shit I'm talking about.
I got my sprinkle.
As a co-host, how in the fuck do you get more of an opening than I do?
I mean,
All right. We got the engineer in the building. Every time you do that, for some reason, it just fucking sounds retarded to me. But whatever. Not the R word. Not the R word. Not the R word. We can cuss like a motherfucker, but don't say the R word.
yeah, the floating Goku.
Oh yeah, I had to do that. I did that for someone special.
Okay.
Make him float in the air. He'll see it and he'll get it.
Should have put him in a lightning bolt.
He'll get it. He'll see it. Shout out to Ace Vito in the building. Salute Unwrap fam. That's what he said. Go.
Ace.
Yeah, what's going on with you, man? You see what's going on here? It's like I've been on a fucking tractor all day. You know what I'm talking about? Look at this shit.
You know I hate summer. I don't like nothing about it.
Well, you being from Chicago, I find that really hard to believe that you hate summer.
Hate it. I like the winter better. I complain just as much as the next person, but I'll take it. I'll take that.
You'll take the winter over the summer.
I can't take
What
it.
is it about the summer that you?
It's hot as hell. It's horrible.
Summer. What the fuck did you think it was gonna be?
It's not good for the MS. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I got you. But you know what? I will say this.
Yep.
I am fucking hip hop horny today.
Yeah. That's your lips tweaked.
Man, look, you know how I get about hip hop, like the whole culture, everything about it, from breakdancing to DJing, MCing, you name it, all graffiti. Yeah. And tonight, I might be a little on cloud nine right now on some hip hop horniness. The Triple H is in full effect. You know what I'm saying?
Triple H.
Yeah, hip hop horny.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm excited. This show, been working on getting this man here for a minute, so I'm extremely excited to talk to him. Delve deep into some things about. I ain't gonna say right. I want to say everything right now, but I can't. You know what I'm saying?
We might need an excavator.
I'm so hip hop horny. You got to ease into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to, shoot my wad right away. So to speak.
You feel like this one gonna be gym heavy?
Yeah.
Excavator style.
Excavator style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be gym heavy, if you will. That's a word. If you will is a phrase that you have somehow embedded into my brain that I can't seem to get rid of now. if you will.
I don't know where that shit came from.
I don't know, but
And bear with me. I don't know where that.
don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to be saying, you know,
It's inevitable. Don't worry about it.
I don't.
Just make space.
Bear with me.
Make
Bear
space.
with me. No, I don't want to do that. You already got one little closet in my head. I don't need you to have a condo in my head at all.
Fucking closet. All right.
Closet. Yeah, a little crawl space,
Okay.
if you will.
All right.
Now, but I'm extremely hip hop horny, and nothing.
What the fuck is he supposed to moan?
I don't know, like some horns or something.
Probably should create something sexy for that.
Something sexy. Hold on.
Not gross. Not like, not the macaroni and cheese sound. That shit too much. But
No, all right. Well,
you
know what? I'm just gonna say, let's just get to it. Fuck it. What is the point of having this? This shit right here doesn't work.
Well, whatever.
Okay. Are you excited? Are you hip hop horny?
I am very eager. I want to learn some shit.
Like I don't. So all right, I'm gonna leave that one alone.
How the fuck you take that as a jab?
No, because you sit across from me every week. You've been sitting across from me every fucking week for 3 years, damn near, and you say that like you haven't learned shit from sitting across from me.
I did learn some shit about beat making, but then I just realized now I can't remember what the fuck it's called. Give me a minute. I figure it out. No, it's the when it's a 2-track, like the multiple the shit. Everything is its own track.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed, man. I thought nothing. I don't even want to get into this with you. We have company. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So let's just get to it, man.
In my area
Tonight in the building, we got Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Museum. I don't know if he's the curator, the fucking. He's the man up in that bitch. I know that.
I think that works.
Yeah, curator.
Yeah,
works for me. The Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Museum. Darrell M. Roberts is in the goddamn building, aka Artistic.
All right.
There he is. The man, the myth, the legend.
So we always let everybody introduce themselves in their own words. So tell the
You can
people
scoot up a little bit more.
who you are, where you're from.
All right. So my name is Artistic. I go by the Artistic name because that is comfortable for me.
Okay.
So yeah, everybody just calls me Artistic or Art for short. I come from the south side of Chicago, born and raised here in Chicago on 101st, right off of State.
Okay.
And got into hip hop in the early 80s. And man, it's just been a nice ride since then.
What's the first thing you remember about hip hop?
I remember it appealing to me. Like I was basically introduced to it from the street dancing that was going on in the early 80s. Michael Jackson was pretty popular at the time, this was around the time the Thriller album came out.
Yeah, that was big.
You know what I'm saying? And what I didn't know as to why I was even attracted to Michael, I found out later, but now I know why. Is because he was working with the street dancers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but back then I didn't know that.
Right. That's very true.
Yeah.
A lot of pop locking. A lot of what do you call it? Pop locking. Whatever. Now I just had a brain fart.
I don't know the technical name.
Yeah. Because like I had a friend that actually was from Chicago. His name is Brian, but he used to go out to California, and because his mom lived out in California, she had bought a house out there, so he would go and stay with her from time to time. Then he would come back to Chicago. So one summer he came back, and he had been training with the cats in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back, and some of the neighbors was like, "Brian, go ahead and do that popping." They like, go ahead and do that popping. And he was cold. He had a cold like tick animation, like routines and everything. When he did the moves he was doing, I was like, it didn't look like he had a bone in his body. I was like, wow, how did you, he took it all the way down, brought it back up. I was like, I want to know how to do that.
Yeah. Was that your first foray?
Up close, it was.
To being introduced to hip hop?
Yeah. Well, that was the first time that I seen somebody do it up close and in person. Prior to that, it was just mainly on TV.
Right.
But when I seen him do that, I was just like, okay, we gotta. And immediately after that, we formed a crew. You know,
Immediately after
yeah,
that.
yeah, immediately after that, because I was like, we was friends already, and then it was just like he knew how to pop, and was just like, you know, because none of us at the time knew how to pop, so we was just like,
He brought
man,
that shit from Cali.
yeah,
Everybody was popping in the
yeah,
80s in Cali. That was like the before they were even break dancing, it was popping.
Yep, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah, that was a thing.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yep.
I was there for that in Cali. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah.
That's craziness.
Yeah, yeah, and it became a huge thing. It became, like I say, Michael Jackson was incorporating it in it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, he doing backslides and
He did that shit on the Grammys. He fucked everybody up.
yeah. So since he was, but like I said, I didn't know back then he was working with people like Poppin' Taco, Poppin' Pete, Boogaloo Shrimp. Even worked with what's his name, Jeffrey Daniels. You know, all of these people at some point worked with Michael Jackson. You know, so that's why, you know,
And all of them people at some point were on Soul Train, which was from Chicago.
yeah, yeah. So it just made sense as to why he was so appealing. But outside of him, the streets was engulfed with everybody trying to dance. You know, whether you know, attempted to do it, you was at least watching somebody else do it. And so that just made it, you know, a time for, you know, I guess, you know, like what's going on over there? You see a circle of people.
Oh yeah.
You see a whole bunch of circles and stuff, you know, people dancing and people doing all type of stuff. And it was just like, it was just amazing. It was an amazing time. Like I remember getting in the car with my family and maybe just driving to the store. And just from the point A of leaving the house and getting to the store and coming back, it would be circles everywhere.
Oh, that's dope.
Everywhere. Like, and I'm talking, this is between like 1982, 83, 84. Those was like the peak years of breakdancing. And at that time, remember the movie Beat Street and Breaking came out.
Yeah. Oh,
And at that time, everybody was, at least if you wasn't doing it, you wanted to. You was like,
did you go see the movies when they came out?
Yeah.
When the movies was over with,
Yeah.
everybody was outside breaking and popping. Everybody. You was waiting for your chance to get out.
Yeah.
Working on this shit all week.
Yeah.
Did it make you feel some type of way knowing that, you know, the culture that you love, that you were like in the middle of, was on the movie screen?
Oh man, I think, and that's the reason why I even went to the movies. Because I didn't know this back then, but I found this out years later. But they said that when they realized that there was, you know, it was already on the streets, and they realized we can make some money off this if we put it on a big screen. And so Breaking came out in May of 84 and B Street came out in June of 84. So California actually beat New York
with the movies.
to feature in the movies. You know, yeah. So everybody was racing to try to put this stuff out because it was huge. It was, everybody was doing it, and Breaking, I forget what the box numbers are.
Yeah.
But it was staggering.
Yeah.
For
that time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was.
And when you think about it, for a movie of that caliber,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Breaking 2 sucked dick though. That shit was terrible.
And the fact that at the time I didn't know this. Like he said, talked about Soul Train, but Shabba-Doo was the main cast in the film, and at the time I didn't know he was from Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, but he went on to do really, really, really great things. He was in Breaking 1 and Breaking 2.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I watched Breaking 2 like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Horrible. You thought the acting was bad on the first one. The second one, the acting was.
Great thing about it is, didn't care about the acting at all. You know, like you just get caught up in what the fuck, like that, the broom outside the store. Come on.
Yeah.
That's the first one.
That makes up for everything.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying, I never thought about the acting like at all.
Yeah.
At all.
You know what's funny is seeing that movie now. When I was a kid and saw it, you couldn't see the fishing string.
Yeah.
It was like, how the fuck did I fall for that
It was
shit?
like magic back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's like, what the hell? Oh, look at who's in the building. Shout out Sarcastic.
What up?
Right.
He says we all love hip hop. Shabba-Doo, Puerto Rican and Black American.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Did you think?
Oh no, that's not. That's regular spit. I almost thought that was Sarcastic for a second.
Hell, I thought that's what I saw.
Nah, it's regular spit.
Did you think that
Salute, brother.
it would, at the time? Did you think that it would become a thing?
Breaking?
Just the art in itself, just in general.
I didn't know how long or how far it was going to go, but I knew at that moment it was everything to me. It was like,
That's when you were caught.
yeah, it was like you get, you know how you ever get bit by a mosquito and you can kind of feel the sting.
Mhm.
It was like that, but it was an ongoing feeling.
Yeah.
Like I was just like every day I wanted to practice. I wanted to we go to the parks or wherever because we was still I was still in grammar school at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Outside.
Yeah.
Every waking moment, looking for the battle,
yeah.
looking for somebody breaking, looking for some cardboard, some linoleum, trying to get it in
Yeah.
any way you can.
And I had just kind of made a transition from, because I used to be into bikes and video games, you know, and I still was into bikes, but after I kind of got captured by hip hop, that kind of slowly started going behind me, right? And I was just like, you know, like he said, we would go from neighborhood to neighborhood, trying to battle folks, just looking to just have a good time, you know. Go to the park. We used to go downtown on Rush Street, Michigan Avenue, you know, wherever we can attract a crowd. It was
We was out there trying to battle. We was out there trying. It was super competitive.
Yeah.
At least from my recollection, it was super competitive.
Yeah.
So when we went to other neighborhoods, we was there. Where is that one dude we heard about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where's T-Bone at? I don't care about y'all. You know?
Yeah.
Not
And
fictitious
is
name
it
T-Bone.
true that every neighborhood had its own little like nuance to their style?
Oh yeah. You can pretty much tell. And like he said, you know, even if you did do a battle and you lost, you had to come back.
Yeah.
You had to go home, practice, and be like, okay, let's go for it again. You know, because it was like it was like an addiction. It really was, because it was just like of course nobody wants to lose. But when you see the stuff that they was doing, it was just, and now the moves that they do today is even more fascinating than what they were back then. But it was just like to see a person spin on their head or their elbow or they whatever different parts of the body. It was, I couldn't you it was a point to where it was like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
Like, how do you spin on your fist?
Right.
You know, how do you spin on the palm of your hand with your entire body elevated in the air?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It was a process. It was a real process. We sitting there, learning that shit, like learning how to balance yourself, balance your body.
Yeah.
Regular Spick says Crush Groove is one of my favorite hip hop movies, especially as a kid. Yeah, and he said, "Hell yeah, competition is beautiful." Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That was the thing. That really was the thing. When what? So you started breakdancing first, right?
Yeah.
What was the next step in your growth and your evolution in hip hop?
So I started dancing first, and then about 2 years after that, I got into graffiti, and I rapped a little bit because we was, you know, we was looking up to people like Run DMC, Houdini, the Fat Boys, you know, LL Cool J, you know, and we formed a crew. We called ourselves the Curfew Boys at the time. You know, because we used to always stay out past curfew, get in trouble and stuff like that. But then I started doing the graffiti. So I was engulfed by it all because I started noticing at the time I didn't know that this thing was a entire culture.
Right.
Like I just was seeing fragments of it, and I was just trying to piece this thing together to understand what exactly is this. And when I realized that it was one, I was like, oh, like I remember seeing some b-boys breaking, but then I would see tags on the cardboard, and then I'm like, oh, okay, and you know, so when we started putting it all together, and then we stumbled across WHBK. And once we found WHBK, that kind of helped us solidify that this thing was together. You know, yeah.
That's really how, because like after you said that, when I think about it, because you know I don't really think about it too much anymore, but like now that you said it that way, like trying to figure out what it was, just moving from one to the other, I didn't at the time didn't realize that they were actually together until like right now when you said it, I'm like, oh, that's right. And then it's like, oh, why is this dude? Why is he popping and breaking?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is a rap song, like, you know what I mean? Why is there graffiti? Then it kind of like dawns on you a little bit. Wait a minute, this is something. You know what I mean? Didn't at the time it was so new and so fresh that it was hard to. Well, we weren't thinking about it.
Yeah.
We weren't thinking about it at all. We weren't thinking like this is hip hop. That didn't come. I don't think that didn't come along until about the
No.
mid '80s.
Yeah, that's
Where
true.
we started calling it
Yeah,
hip hop.
that's true.
It
That's
was
true.
just
We
this,
were just doing
we
it
were
at the
just doing
time.
this shit
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was like it was the hoods of fucking punk rock. Because punk rockers are like, and punk rockers and hip hop people always have meshed and been together. And because like I remember like even in grammar school, high school, always being with the outsiders. And so
Yeah.
anybody that's really been in hip hop has always kind of been an outsider anyway,
Yeah.
doing their own thing creatively. And yeah, I forgot what the fuck I was gonna say. Well,
Talk
oh,
about the
it'll come back to
correlation
me.
between
Yeah, the
punk rock
correlation.
and hip hop and
Yeah, and
misfits
all of
and
it
shit.
together. Yeah, because we didn't really know what the fuck we were doing. We didn't
Yeah.
know that 50 years later this shit was going to be the way
Yeah.
it is, or we didn't know that it was really going to take up that much space in our brains, in our lives, in our hearts, and everything else. You know what I'm saying?
And I think for me, I began to kind of start expressing myself and understanding what that self-expression meant.
Right.
Because every element that I participate, because I participated in all of them, but
Mhm.
every element that I participated in, I began to realize that it's all self-expression.
Yeah.
Like the dance was the physical part, the graffiti was the visual part,
Hmm.
the rhyming was the like the vocabulary part, and then the music was just like that's the sound, like that's the soundtrack of it all, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like, man, like all of this stuff makes sense. And then I remember seeing in the movie Beat Street, I remember they did a train that said hip hop don't stop.
Hmm.
On the train, and it was just so stuff like that just kind of like stuck with me, where like he said, the term hip hop began to start being used more and more and more, and you begin to, decipher it as it relates to the culture itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people, like, I don't think, like, some people did it as a passing of time, but I did it because it touched this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like, man, like you come home and you feeling good.
Yeah.
Because you just maybe you just battled somebody and you won.
Right.
Or
Maybe somebody recognized your art.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Or you DJ'd that one party and killed it.
Yeah,
For the
yeah,
first time you blended in front of people and
yeah,
killed it.
yeah. All of that stuff
all of
make
that.
you make you
Windmilled
feel
in front of motherfuckers
yeah,
for the first
yeah,
time.
yeah. I mean, we used to like discover. We would create moves by mistake.
Yeah.
Doing something, trying to, because back then, remember, we had no internet. So when we
There was none of that.
Right,
so when we, like, today, kids can learn how to dance quicker because they got all this technology.
Mhm.
But back then, you had to remember what you seen when you was at the park.
Or that you seen on a video that you probably wouldn't see for another 3 or 4 months.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
you have to take that information in immediately and process that shit immediately.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember like when I walked into the first time I walked into a record store, the first time I heard somebody scratching, and I walked in. I don't even know what the fuck I was doing over at that store right now, to be honest with you. I walked in and he was doing a basic scratch off the snares, like, and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like I like bugged out, and he was talking to me about it and everything, and I was just for whatever reason in my mind, he was like way up in this booth, but it was probably like fucking 4 feet high or something.
Okay.
But yeah, that summer I worked all summer and bought me some turntables and a realistic mixer and started DJing right after that.
Yeah.
And I had already done graffiti and I already done breakdancing, but I still hadn't kind of put all three of those things together.
Yeah.
Yet. And yeah, that was I remember that. Just hearing that and was like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then seeing it on, like, hearing it on the radio or something, you just don't know what that is. You know what it is, but you don't know what it is. But seeing somebody do it for the first time was kind of magical.
Yeah. And the other thing is that at the time when we were doing it as youngsters, it was not a lot of girls involved.
Not a lot.
There were some, but it was mainly a guy thing. And for the most part, if you seen some girls, it was either they was dating one of the guys that was out there, or they were just watching.
No, there was always that one that was out there. She was getting
it. Yeah. But it was not. And even when we had parties, when we started throwing parties of our own, it would be a lot of guys, and especially in Chicago, it would be 1 or 2 people that you can call out. Like a Ange 13 was always there.
Shout out, and
Ange 13 was always there,
That's
but
my
it was
girl.
very few. But now I'm just so happy that there's so many more women
Right.
involved in it today because, you know, like I was a graffiti artist, so you know, we had to cross expressways, we had to climb over gates, we had to run in between trains with live electricity going through them, right?
That's insane.
Exactly. So you know, ain't no girl finna be like, I'm not going up in there. I ain't finna cross no expressway. So it was really male dominated. But eventually, you know, because Ange was a graffiti artist too, for those that may not know.
Yeah.
You know, and so so some of us was just like, man, you know, if it touched your heart deep enough.
Look who's in the building. Kahari, what's cracking, my man?
He's hilarious.
Salute, brother.
He is hilarious.
Yeah. I guess, you know, like once it touched your heart, it kind of dictated how far you was gonna go with it.
Yeah.
Whether you gonna go this far, you gonna go the whole mile, right?
Yeah.
And it probably didn't seem dangerous because it was like, it's for the love of hip hop. Like,
Yeah.
Who cares?
We
Like,
didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I'm going to paint up there. I'm going.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
go.
And then the other thing was the adrenaline.
Yeah.
The adrenaline kind of like suppressed all the fear. Like you might have been scared. Like, I mean, just imagine expressway with cars doing 60 miles and you got to try to cross.
Shout out to my girl Toya, who would hop the train with the ninja.
Yeah. You know, so cars is coming past and now you got to kind of pace yourself to make sure you got enough time to run across before some more cars come. Then after you get across the expressway, now you got to climb over a gate. And then now you still got to wait. You got to make sure ain't no workers in the yard, you know, because where the trains are parked, you know. So it was all type of stuff, but we loved it. It was just like, man, we couldn't get enough of it. So that adventure, it was an adventure. It was exciting. The adrenaline rush, everything was just like there's no way that you can experience that without doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And then motherfuckers wonder why, like, I don't want to say old heads are disgruntled. I think the ones that kind of got fucked out of deals and shit like that are disgruntled. But I think for like a lot of older heads, because of that, the adrenaline, the actual work that was put into it, the drive and everything, to see people doing it and just frivolously doing the shit and not really taking the time to really learn it and be like really be a part of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
I think for most people, you just got to find out like what that thing is for them. So like for me, from I guess like 5th grade up until probably like mid of high school, like basketball. I come from a basketball family. Like my dad breathe, sleep, eat basketball.
Right.
So for me, if it's 103 outside, it's nothing to me to go hoop and shoot around because that's what you do.
Right.
And then, you know what I'm saying? But like then you go home, maybe you take a shower, take a nap, and then you go to a party or something like that. But the other people that didn't hoop, the fuck you mean you finna go play basketball?
And it's hot out here.
Literally 600 degrees outside.
Yeah.
You're gonna die. You know, like no, you drink some Powerade, you be straight.
Yeah.
But you know, it becomes second heartbeat.
Yeah.
I just gotta do it.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure you wake up.
And see, that's interesting that you say that because like I used to watch people play ball in the park, but I was not good at that.
You didn't care about it at all.
Yeah, because I wasn't good at it. Like I wanted to be because all my friends played basketball too. And I was just like, I'm just no good at basketball. So when I found hip hop, it was just like, I found something that now I can relate to, and I'm going to continue to work my way to get better at this thing.
Yep.
And then everybody started looking at me like saying, I wish I could do what you do.
Yep. And then as you progress,
that
like,
part right there, that's the glory right there. How'd you do that?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? That was
How you get all the way up there to paint your name?
Yeah.
and then,
Would you like to know?
Then you do one thing, like you said, you started out, you know, with dancing, and then you know evolved to graffiti, and you're progressing through steps.
Right.
It's more difficult, but you're not even thinking about it like that. It's just some other shit that I got to learn.
Yeah.
Like for me, I had to learn how to take a charge. I was always the biggest person.
Okay.
I'm gonna catch a foul.
Right.
If I do not learn how to take a charge, I'm gonna always foul out.
Right.
So I spent like a month and a half fucking falling.
Yeah.
But you got to do it a certain way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like people be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But other people that was hooping,
They knew
She doing work. She got to do what she got
Yeah,
to do.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Same difference.
yeah, yeah,
What is he doing? I want
yeah.
to leave him alone. He's focused right now. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
He's
yeah.
got to spin on his
He's
elbow.
got to spin on his elbow right now. Leave him the
Yeah.
fuck alone.
And look, mind you, like even with like you just said, when we were dancing, some moves were so hard to achieve, but you knew you had to put that work in, and you knew you had to you was gonna have to bruise yourself to get it.
Mhm.
Like I remember many a times my shoulders was like, man, just like raw shoulders, hips, because you trying to develop these moves, and you head, everything that you're trying to do these moves, body parts that you're trying to use to do these moves on, it ain't used to your body ain't used to you doing that to it, and all of a sudden your body is asking yourself, what are you doing?
Hyper gymnastics without a coach. Hyper gymnastics without a fucking coach. Because that's really what it is. Like,
what was the hardest move you had to learn? You had to learn.
I would say the windmill. The windmill was because that was like the hairspin was good, but the windmill was like
Riot, what's up?
Oh, that's brother right. So the windmill was like if you achieved that, that was like the big plus.
But is it literally like if when you trying to spin on your head, is it literally like, okay, I got to get on my head and then I got to spin it? Like, is it like you have to think about the moves literally in that intricate way?
Yep, and you have to have balance too.
That sounds
The balance, endurance, muscle tone. Like even like when I learned how to do it was a move called the crab walk. And so when I first started trying to learn how to do it, I couldn't balance my body weight on my two hands. But I would see dudes just like walking around like they spinning right on both hands, and I'm just like, dang. And so people used to tell me you got to first balance your weight on your elbows. You gotta you gotta tone your body weight right here. Your core got to be toned. So then it was like, oh, so I got to do some sit ups. I got to push ups. All of that stuff is in preparation to help you be able to do some of those moves.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got a chance to learn, I mean, as I continued to practice and I started locking my elbows into this because this got tight, I started being able to walk around, like walk forward, walk backward, walk around in a circle. And it was just like, oh wow, and just kept practice.
If you could spin on your head really good, you were something. Because that the biggest fear was the biggest rumor and the biggest fear was you're gonna break your neck.
Yeah. People used to always say, yeah, you're gonna hurt yourself, neck, but if you do the moves in a way to where your body is toned, and especially if you're working with somebody that can do it, that already know how to do it, and they kind of helping you, you're gonna hurt yourself. You're definitely gonna hurt yourself, but you will get it. You will get it.
He said, I tried to do a windmill and down there took out half a dad crew. He said he was terrible at ball too. Hip hop loves you, Kahari. Don't worry about it.
Love you dearly.
Yeah. So, but it wasn't for everybody. That's why some guys they stay with popping.
Bringing back all this drama for people.
Yeah. I mean, like if you look at people when they doing it, like now as a grown person and a mother, man, hell no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my son broke his arm.
Yeah.
And the story that we heard was that he jumped on a trampoline. It was one of them little ones, and he just kind of fucked up his aim or whatever. But the truth is, he thought he could parkour.
Okay.
Because he seen the shit on TV.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think about. Like, you trying to spin on your head, and guess what? It's gonna be a little bit too much weight this way, and it's just.
And see, I think the other thing there's precautions because at least with basketball or gymnastics or other trained sports or what have you, they've been around for so long that it's protocol you can go through to learn on how to do these things. Whereas with us, there was no school.
No.
The school was the streets. You know what I'm saying? And so we learned how to do what we did amongst one another, and the rest was trial and error.
Yeah.
So like you could go to school to learn how to be a ballerina, or you can go to learn how to play basketball, because it was institutionalized. You can go, you don't have to go to the court. Now, some people obviously did, but you can literally go and get in a program and learn how to do some of those things.
Sure.
With us, we learned how to do it amongst each other on the streets. And so that left room for more injuries.
Or secluded in the
Yeah,
backyard with a 6x6 fucking piece of linoleum in the blazing heat, praying that no one sees you.
Yeah.
Just out there, just organic spinning.
Fucking
Yep.
making it happen.
And it was the same with the graffiti. I mean, we didn't like, it wasn't like he mentioned earlier about New York. So we at the time didn't know the writers from New York, only about books and movies. So it wasn't like they were coaching us. So we had to figure this stuff out on our own. How do we get into the yards? How do we get up this building to put our name up there? We had to figure all that stuff out. And it wasn't no books to tell you, okay, you go this way, you do this, you climb this. You had to just go and figure that stuff out, And then once you did, now people was like asking you, how did you get up there? And you'd be like, you just got to go figure it out. Unless they was cool, you might share some information, but it was always figure it out on your own type of thing. It was secrets, a lot of secrets.
Oh yeah, secrets for everything. And even if you learned how to do some shit or made some shit up, it was dope. You didn't tell nobody how you did that shit.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's
Yeah.
And if you learned how to windmill and you knew the other motherfuckers couldn't, you ain't telling them.
Yeah.
Unless they were in your crew.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless they're in your crew.
Because you knew that was going to be your safe zone.
Yeah.
But when the battle came, because now you ain't talk, if you and your crew know how to do this stuff, but obviously they don't, you got a better chance of winning. So, but it like he said, it was very competitive. Hip hop has always been very competitive, but it's always been fun.
Yeah.
It's always been fun. Yeah. Always been fun. So, and even DJing. Now, in my crew, we had one guy, his name is Ken. He lives in Colorado now. But for some reason, he was great. And none of us had any equipment. I think DJing is the most expensive element in hip hop, right? Because you got to have some money to be a DJ, right? So we didn't have no equipment. So, but my buddy, all of us used to mess with our family equipment, whatever the record player or hi-fi you had in the house, that's what you use. So my buddy would go get his parents, stuff and piece stuff together. Speaker from over here, this from over there, and piece this thing together. And that's how he learned how to scratch. Like he became a master scratcher. I'm like, how in the heck is you doing? And you ain't had no mixer, nothing. He just using stuff and putting tape on here and making it work for what he had. And
ingenuity.
Yeah, ingenuity. And I'm just like, wow, And so it was just amazing how he learned how to scratch on the little equipment that his parents had way before he even got equipment.
Probably got his ass whooped when he got caught.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Who scratched my goddamn LTD record?
But history says that ass whooping is a start to everything great. Because technically, if it wasn't for, was it Tito or Randy that got caught breaking the guitar string?
That was Tito.
If it wasn't for Tito fucking up, Joe would have never known what he had. And we would never know what we have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes that ass whooping is a catalyst for something big. Straight up.
It's a catalyst for me.
Yeah.
My ass whooped plenty of times over hip hop by my mom. So shout out to mom.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think my dad saw it in me. Like because I'm the type of person, wait a minute. I saw him do this. I can fucking do that. And I remember him sitting me down. That was the first time we went through all the records. And he was like, this is who this is and blah, blah. I was really, really little because I was a curious one.
Yeah.
Like, you got to get me.
Right.
I will fuck some shit up.
Right.
So he was like, this is blah, blah, blah. Okay. We don't touch these, right? And he was like, you see that over there? Don't touch that either. That's very expensive. Okay. Yeah. You lift this up and then you put this down. And then it starts to play. That's all you do.
Yeah.
None of this. I was like, damn.
Let's say none of this.
Right. Because I seen that shit. I don't know. I don't remember. It was a movie. Maybe it was breaking. I don't know. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What's the one thing in hip hop within your being involved in the culture that stands out the most to you? That one moment that stands out the most to you in your journey? That you just like go, wow.
I still love a good battle. When even today, if I go to
DJ battle, rap battle, breakdancing battle, don't matter.
just the competitiveness of everybody exercising their skills
Yeah,
on a level that's just because now it's just so advanced. Like, did y'all see the Olympics?
yeah, I
Like,
did, yeah.
like,
But they, you know what? First of all, I don't know how they came up with that format, which was horrible. They should have had it going, country against country, and just like do it like they do gymnastics and do that. But I don't know how the fuck Australia did that shit and how they ended up in that. Horrible. But there's better breakdancers that could have been out there.
Oh yeah,
there's way better breakdancers. When I see these fuckers breakdance nowadays, I'm just like, what?
So nobody ever like provided an explanation as to how they came up with.
Yeah. They were part of that woman and her husband were part of some fucking weirdo
benevolent society that paid for the Olympics.
Well, they had their own like little hip hop company or something, some shit in Australia.
Yeah,
with
very
little skill and knowledge.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah, and so they were able to get in under that guise because they had their little. It was like I forget what it was called, but it was like the hip hop. I'm just gonna say hip hop coalition of something Australia down under. I don't know, under a rock, whatever. But that's how they kind of snuck it in as being the representative of Australia. When there are breakdancers in Australia that are cold as fuck.
That lady almost gave you a stroke. She really did.
Yeah, I was so mad. I was like, that shit was such a fucking mockery.
Publicity.
Man.
But like I didn't that part was like the least that affected me because I looked at the whole thing. I looked at the men's division and the women's division. And I still loved what I seen. Now I know there was complaints, because a lot of people kept saying, why come it wasn't more of us being represented? But the question is, when did a lot of us stop? Because a lot of us stopped years ago, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? So and didn't really pass it on to anybody younger upcoming. So now breaking is international. It's and we looked at it as being qualified to go to the Olympics back in the 80s.
Right.
But they weren't ready for it back then. They kept saying it's not a real dance. They were saying that it's not a real art form. But I looked at it because I never thought I would see the day that it would actually make that main stage
officially.
Officially. And I gotta say, I mean, it was pretty amazing to me.
They be offbeat, and I wanted to reach through the TV. You and me both. So let's fast forward. Let's fast forward because I want to talk about the Hip Hop Heritage Museum.
Yes.
How does that come about? First, tell everybody what it is.
So the Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Museum, number one, is a place that houses the history and lineage of Chicago hip hop.
Which is deep, by the way.
Yeah.
Deep.
I went to New York in 2020. Now I used to go to New York once a year, right? Back in the 90s. And, just because, that's the Mecca, right? That's where a lot of this come from, right? And so I always just wanted to be able to say I've been, right? Be connected to the spirit of hip hop where it actually came from. But I also realized that we have our own history here. So the last time I went to New York was in 2020, and I was highly disappointed because there was no Chicago representation. Now they got a museum in New York, up in the Bronx, right? And there was no representation of Chicago at all. No Kanye, no Common, no Twister, And so I'm just like, So, but I know New York is gonna take care of New York first.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They might say we'll welcome you in, but they're gonna make sure that they are the forerunners of, because they always say it started here. Don't get it twisted. It started here. So they kind of feel like everybody else is you afterthought, right? Some people didn't even want it to leave the Bronx. They didn't want it to grow in other cities around America. So when it did, they was like, some people didn't like that. Yeah. But so that was another pressing thing that made me feel that we need to highlight our own stories, because ain't nobody, it's not even right why should New York talk about Chicago hip hop? You know what I'm saying? Like,
not to cut you off, but I want to stamp at that point because of what you just said. One of the things that we talk about a lot on this podcast is Chicago has a very, segregated culture because segregation is a big part of the city. All our neighborhoods are segregated.
Right.
But there's the thing like when you become famous, you leave.
Mm-hmm.
People come here and they take.
Right.
But nobody gives back.
Right.
So with you curating something like this where you're capturing the history and things of that nature, what part of the artist contributing in a real way is important? Because like if you have a Shano or Common or a Twista or Crucial Conflict or really anybody, the new people like a PBE Mexico.
Yeah.
Like if somebody was to come to you like, hey,
shout out to Messi.
I'm about to go on tour, so here's some flyers for the start of the tour. Then they give you some merch to keep it or whatever. So you guys just like keep a stockpile and you just kind of swap it out or?
Well, first of all, we actually have been collecting prior to us opening up the museum. So we had artifacts of our own in our own personal collections over the years because I used to just, at some point, I would say around that late 80s is when I really started just getting stuff and saying, I'm gonna keep this. You know, I'm gonna keep this flyer, go to the store, get a flyer, or event, get a flyer. And then after after the event is over, most people just throw it away. But I'd be like, I'm gonna put this in my photo album.
Nice.
I'm gonna keep this, I'm gonna keep that, Or if you went, sometime we would go to concerts, I would keep the ticket stub, right? Because that's proof that you went. You know what I'm saying? You pull that up, that's a receipt. So it was, and then photographs, taking pictures, it's another receipt. So it was stuff like that we began to collect and just keep, not knowing that eventually one day we was gonna have a museum, but some of that stuff is now in the museum. You know what I'm saying? And and our thing is we encourage other people to do the same. If you got some people got stuff in their storage unit, they got it in their garage, in their basement. And my thing is, what good is it doing in that space where nobody can see it?
Yeah.
Right. That's a fact.
So I think it's good to tell your story. We encourage people to tell your stories because ain't nobody gonna do it for you. And the story, if you holding on to the story because you in fear of somebody taking your ideas or whatever, at some point it's going to be where you don't even exist because you're not putting it out there.
Yeah.
Like who was that? What's his name? What's Will Smith's DJ?
Jazzy Jeff.
Jazzy Jeff. He worded it some kind of way, but he said basically keep putting in work till you can't give no more. Put the work out there. Like in other words, my thing is if you're an artist, why create something that nobody's gonna see? Or or if you're making music, why make a song that ain't nobody gonna listen to?
Right.
Like it makes no sense to me. So like, when we painted, we wanted to paint so that everybody could see the work. Not just our crew members or our peers, but anybody riding a train or buses. We want them to be like, oh, look at that. That's nice. Even if you can't read it. If just admiring it was good enough.
Because most of the time I don't know what the hell this says. But I just like what it looks like.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And at some point, you can learn how to read it if you study it enough.
Yeah.
It's just like anything, it's just like a game of basketball. You learn how to do a gameplay, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's all in what you make it at the end of the day. It's just like when we was, like I say, when we was messing around with the turntable, I learned how to scratch too. I was like, man, I eventually bought me some turntables and kept practicing and I learned how to cut. And I was just like, wow. Like, wow, I could cut this now. Like Run DMC and Jam Master Jay, I was doing back-to-backs, tricks up under, behind, up under the leg, Never thought that day would come, but it came because of the practice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like you said, the ingenuity of maneuvering stuff around, figuring stuff out, and I didn't have the best equipment, but I made it work.
Yeah. That was always the thing, to make it work. Make do with what you got.
Yeah.
Make that shit work.
Yeah.
Now, back to the museum, and can anybody go there on any random day, or you guys open when you open?
Yeah, so we do have set hours, set days and set hours, but if you contact one of us, if we're available, we can still we could do what you call a walk-in. You know, like, sometimes people come into town, they know about the museum already, and they'll call me and Kingdom up or whoever and say, hey, can I come out and check out the museum? And if we available, then we say, okay, how's 3:00? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Oh, okay, I'll meet you at the museum. You got the address? All right, cool. We get down there, take them through a tour.
Because just looking at how it's put together, like I think when I was a sophomore, I wanted to be a museum curator.
Okay.
But one of my aunts, we had just the craziest conversation because she was like, people really need to start thinking about, can you make some money? So what are you gonna do with that?
Right.
Like, what museum are you gonna work at? So it discouraged me.
Okay.
But when I went there, just looking at how I especially liked so when you come in, you got your wall, the couch, that room.
Yeah.
That's straight ahead. I especially like that room and up the stairs.
Yeah.
Just all the way up, just going up the stairs. But like, you would think it's so much to take in. It's very cluttered.
Right.
But it allows your brain to individually take in each piece.
Yeah.
Because it's so fascinating that there's so much that came from this city.
Yeah.
That nobody even knows about.
Yeah. And every time people come there, even to this day, people walk out of there saying, I didn't know that Chicago had this much history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. It's a lot of I didn't know this and I didn't know that.
It's way beyond the Common, the Twister,
Yeah.
and all of that. It goes all the way back to the beginnings of hip hop, all the way back. Even like the basis for Sugar Hill Gang. It's from Chicago.
Yeah. Captain Sky. We talked about Captain Sky.
Yeah.
Because at the time
when Duke is from Chicago.
Yeah. At the time when we heard that, we had no idea that was a connection for us.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't find that out until years later. And when we did, I was like, wow. And I remember literally reaching out to Captain Sky on Facebook, and he responded.
Nice.
And this was right around the time we first opened up the museum, which was 4 years ago already. And we invited him to come, and he came, and he started telling us all of his his story, and we was just blown away.
Yeah,
because he was a funk artist from the 70s, and so but he they dabbled with hip hop too, and so when he told us that we found out that all these other artists, especially from New York, had sampled that one little bit, Super Sperm, and put it in all these other songs. And I'm just like, wow, so that's kind of like a foundational brick.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of people, like, I learned a lot about Chicago hip hop just when I moved here, but it's like when you really delve deep into it, like if there's no Chicago, there's a lot of shit that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It really doesn't happen within hip hop culture.
Yeah.
Because Chicago is that place.
Yeah.
That has rich history and art and music and everything, and it doesn't get the city doesn't get the recognition that it deserves.
Yeah.
So shout out to y'all for putting together the museum, because I think this shit is dope as fuck.
Thank you.
Dope as fuck. I need to get some stuff up in there.
And we still got it's still a lot of work. It's still stuff that we would love to have that we don't have. It's still people that haven't been there yet that we want to come see it. Because people say, well, have some of the bigger celebrities from Chicago been there yet? Like Twister, for example. Twister has not been there yet. We still trying to get him to come.
He's too busy playing with guns.
But at the end of the day, I think sometimes people say, well, they waiting for it to see if it's gonna blow up.
Right.
But my thing is, why wait when if it's a part of the culture that you love, that shouldn't even be a factor.
Shouldn't.
And that was like kind of where I was going with what I was saying. There's a lot of participation from from the locals, right?
Right.
The people enriched in the culture.
Right.
But the ones that make it and leave here, it's like they gone, and it's like, something like that. I feel like everybody should reach for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, once you simmer down, your legacy's in here.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But
Yeah. And I know it's a different. It's different for Chicago because we, like you said earlier, people have, and you mentioned it too. People, feel like they can't make it unless they leave, right? And then in some cases, people choose not to even come back, or if they do, they ain't trying to help nobody, But at the end of the day, like I always feel like before you become mainstream, you're local, right? Locals is what helped create mainstream. So you can't be mainstream without first being local. So I always tell that to people, like we all were local at some point, you know, and eventually, you know, over a course of time, you become that person that everybody knows now, you know. But you can't be that person if you wasn't this person first.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, that is a fact.
An actual fact.
The word on the street is that you guys had got recognized by the city or something. You're gonna get a building downtown. Or
Yeah,
something like that?
so it actually we were going to be relocating in the next 2 years. We were going to be going to a space, but now that has changed. It was going to be on 47th and like Woodlawn.
Mm-hmm.
That was where the new space was going to be, but now we're actually relocating to 45th and State. So
okay.
so it's in the it's in the process. Yeah, and it's gonna be cool because as you all have seen where we're at right now, that space that we're in right now is more residential.
Yeah.
So where we're going is gonna be commercial and it's gonna be a new build.
Nice.
So we'll have parking and everything, you know. So yeah, it's gonna be definitely much better.
That's got to be exciting.
Yeah,
That's got to be extremely
because I mean,
exciting.
we've actually outgrown the space that we're in right now. That's why we have to rotate the exhibits every year because we ain't got enough space to put everything up at the same time.
Speaking of rotating exhibits, there's something going on here. Is it next month, right?
Yeah.
So
a couple of days.
Right.
couple of days. Tell the people what's going on at the Heritage Museum, Hip Hop Heritage Museum.
So every year we try to come up with a new theme, right? Just to kind of keep it fresh. Like, you know, I feel like if you come to the museum, sometimes people have come multiple times, but if you come every time and it's the same stuff,
Right.
it's kind of like, why come again, right? So we like to change stuff around. So when you come back, you're like, oh man, this wasn't here the last time I came.
Right.
So we decided this year that we were going to do this exhibit exclusively for the women, you know, and so yeah. And so some people was thinking maybe we don't have enough content, you know, but actually the women have contributed more just in the last couple of months to this exhibit than the whole 4 years that we've been there.
Damn. In typical woman fashion.
I was gonna say I can see that.
In typical woman fashion.
I can see that.
Got all that shit in the attic and
Like what? You need something for your exhibit? Real quick. Yeah. All that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like guys, you know, we say we're gonna do it, and then you know you calling and texting, you know, where's the stuff at? But the women, they come in stuff, pretty bags and frame stuff, you know, it's been pretty.
You put that shit up. You know what I'm saying?
I hate you right now. Look at the problem you.
I got LED lights in the car. You need those? All that shit.
Yeah. So it's been kind of cool. So I said, wow. So I guess the women are going to show the men how it's supposed to be done. You know, when it comes to.
I've heard that. Shout out to Lyric in the building.
All right.
He said peace and love to Artistic and the Unwrapped crew. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I just think that at some point we need to learn how to champion each other.
Yeah.
You know, like
Big facts.
really, people say support, but what does that really mean? You know, like, because sometimes support ain't always just about money. It could just be, you know, can you help me clean up? Can you help me paint the wall?
Right.
Can you help me move some boxes?
Yeah. No, that's
and mean it.
Yeah.
Like say, hey, I know you're doing this. What can I do to help?
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's extremely important. I think it is. That's like, whenever you're doing something and you really want to, I don't know if I'm saying this the correct way, but if you're doing something and you really want it to work and you need champions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You really do. And you need to know how to foster those relationships as well. You know, I think that's kind of a lost art within itself now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we definitely need to champion each other more nowadays, especially because like we were talking earlier about having bars and, you know, really rapping and really doing this and really bringing the culture to the forefront. It's already worldwide, but somehow she kind of lost her way a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we all need to champion each other and bring it back to what it was in the beginning when it was fun.
Yeah.
You wanted to do it because you fucking loved it. You know what I mean? You're not for the likes and not for none of that shit because it was just in you. You just wanted to do it. Like somebody said, we asked them, I forget what question it was, but then they said, I wear hip hop.
Yeah.
And I thought that was dope. I'm gonna end up making a shirt out of that. I wear hip hop.
Yeah.
What was it that said that?
I don't know. I remember that though. I think is hip hop dead? Was the question, right?
Maybe. Speaking of, But yeah, maybe it might have been was hip hop dead, and they're like, no, I wear hip hop. It was a female that said it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a female.
Was it Jovan?
No,
First time?
no.
It was.
Is she gonna be in there too, Joanne Landry?
Yeah, she
Dope.
brought a whole table full of stuff.
I bet she did.
Yeah,
That girl's
yeah.
something else.
Yeah, she's represented in there.
Dope. She's dope. Good friend of the show.
Yeah.
Good friend of ours. Yeah. So
Yeah.
real quick, like we have a portion of the show that we call "You Guys to Chill."
You got to chill.
All right.
Just a little bit.
Got to
Just a
chill.
little bit. It's a series of questions. They don't have no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
You can answer. You can have a little bit. Yeah. You can answer it any way you want. It can be based off facts, based off your opinion. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's however you see fit. I don't have any dog in this fight, but as you can see that my co-host who has been talking throughout the entire show has everything to say about whatever you're gonna say. I'm pretty sure.
Sound about right.
Sure. So it's called "You Got to Chill." You answer. There's no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
But however you see fit. You still have something to say about it.
Now we have several.
Wait. You gotta hit them with your digs.
This was directed at you.
Oh.
We're gonna bounce around,
Okay.
you know. But the new ones, we'll do them all. But you know, there's hella other ones. All right, so this is his favorite question.
Okay.
All right.
Why do you keep saying it's my favorite? I never once said it was my favorite.
Because that's when you know we could be interviewing the fucking president. You ain't asking that. So.
All right. You might have me there. You might have me there. Whatever.
So, just for context, you look like this person. You sound like this person.
Wait, time out. Because I feel like every time you explain it that way, you kind of fuck it up, and then they.
So then you explain it.
No. Go ahead.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Run
You
it.
look like this person. You sound like this person. If you were to sign a check, it would be that person's handwriting. If you are on the phone or in front of this person's mom, this is their child. But to you, you still see you. But to everybody else, you're this person. And for 24 hours, okay? So, if you woke up tomorrow and for 24 hours, you were Drake, what's the first thing you would do?
Probably scream.
With excitement or horror?
Probably horror.
That's interesting. Why?
I'm not really a Drake fan, you know.
You gotta be a Drake fan. You woke up and you was Drake.
You know,
It's very interesting to me that people don't give a shit how much money he has. They just generally are terrified that why am I in this nigga's money?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like at this point, we've asked this question 2,605 times.
Right.
And even the good answers that we want, like I'm taking all that nigga's money, they still like, oh damn, for real.
Woke up and I'm Drake. Yeah, like, damn. We had somebody say, I'm going back to sleep.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going back to sleep.
A lot can be said about that. A lot can be said about that.
I ain't going to the bank or nothing. I'm going back to sleep. Fuck that.
That is interesting. Okay. All right. Well, we'll take it. All right. What came first, the poet or the rapper?
I would say the poet.
Okay.
That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't got no shit to say about that? That's right. You're a poet. So yeah.
And the reason why is because most of the people, even like, you know, interviews that I do, I ask people, you know, when did they start? And a lot of them will say, well, I used to write poetry.
Yeah.
You know, and then they became an MC.
Some kind of writing was involved.
Yeah.
Because I used to write stories and shit.
Yeah.
Wasn't much of, but I guess that's kind of poetry in a way.
Yeah.
When I was really, really little, I used to write stories.
Yeah.
And plays. Like I thought I was writing plays, but they were plays.
So
make my brother and shit. And
Act some shit out.
Act them shit
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Priceless.
Yeah.
All right. And this is in terms of, I don't know if you want to sell them, keep them, whatever. CDs, tapes, vinyl, or streaming.
Well, since I'm a collector, I like vinyl, but I love CDs and tapes too. You know, but if I had to pick, I would definitely say vinyl.
Okay.
That's generally
Yeah.
across the board. She wanted you to say CDs because she's some kind of CD monger, but generally everybody says.
I ain't got nothing.
Vinyl.
Bring them shits back. I'm finna figure it out. First, I got to figure out where the fuck to get CDs from.
The Goodwill. Best Buy. They still sell them, motherfuckers.
Word of mouth or the internet?
I would say, well, that's kind of hard because the internet is faster in so many ways and easier. But I do come from that era of word of mouth as well. So if I had to pick, I probably would still stick with the word of mouth because sometimes people could get it misconstrued on the internet. You could say one thing and they can interpret it a whole nother way.
What has worked? What has worked best for the museum? Word of mouth or the internet?
Um, Actually, both. I would actually say both but I think the greater pull is the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like even like when we've been getting people from out of state coming,
Oh,
and
that's what's
I
up.
always say, well, how did you find out about us? And they say, oh, I just Googled you, Chicago, things to do in Chicago, and we popping up.
That's what's up. That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
All
Can
right.
you hit him with none of the new ones?
Yeah, you know what? I'll do that right now. Why is it important to document the history of hip hop, especially from a Chicago standpoint?
So that we won't be forgotten. That's the main reason. There's a story, and I'll share this real quick. When we talk about Soul Train history, people are saying that it started in LA. They talk about 1971 is the beginning, but that's when it went to LA.
Right.
It actually started in 1970, but they cutting off a whole year, and they only pinpointing 1971 because that's when it went into syndication. See, in 1970, from 1970, August of 1970 to 71, it was local. But in 71, it went into syndication. So they're counting the syndication part as its birth. But that's really untrue because it actually started locally here first before it went into syndication. And I just kind of find that to be interesting because like how do you like if you were born in 1970 but you became famous in 1971, when were you born?
Yeah, dropped. Right.
You weren't born in 71.
Make a lot of sense. But that's happening in like every facet.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody is just putting together untruths and molding things the way that they want them to appear.
Yeah. And so I hate that. I mean,
the internet has made it to where anybody can make their own history if they want to.
Yeah.
Which is really
was that baseless facts or something? What's the technical term for that? Well, bullshit, but
bullshit.
Yeah.
That's the technical and term.
Yeah.
If you want to get technical.
Let's go with that then. Okay. What is the significance of hip hop culture in America?
Well, for me, it's a way of life, but I think for others, it's a whole lot of stuff. Like I've heard so many definitions of what hip hop is from multiple people that some of which I don't agree with. I've literally heard somebody say they hip hop because they put on a certain kind of hat. But so when you take off the hat, you're not hip hop now.
Right.
That's kind of weird.
Right.
That's just like
Yeah.
So I think it's the person's interpretation of what it really means to them.
Okay.
All
right. Which is the strongest art form in hip hop? Breaking, graffiti, DJing, MCing, and then why?
Which is the strongest in general or to me?
To you.
I would definitely say today I would definitely say graffiti. But I still love all of them kind of equivalently. But for me, I would definitely say graffiti because that was probably my most heaviest contribution to the culture is doing graffiti. Yeah, and I mean I'm still actively doing that to this day. I teach now breaking in the Chicago public schools, but obviously I'm not what I was in 1984.
Right.
But at least with the art I can still get down and get busy with that. So that's and in fact a lot of the design that I do for the museum is based on the skill set that I developed from doing graffiti.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an interesting answer. I like that.
Yeah.
What is the disconnect with the older generation and the younger generation in hip hop?
I just think understanding.
You think that would be just because they don't understand the history of it or don't know the history of it?
That, and it's this disconnect between the years. Like I just feel it's a generation disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in average, older people and younger people disconnect just because of the gap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in hip hop, it's even worse.
Right.
You know, it's just like, like I come from an era where it was lyrical content was important. So some of these artists today, I talked to a young guy and he said, it doesn't matter as long as it's a vibe. As long as I can nod my head to it, I don't care what they say in the song.
Now, to me, that statement means something different depending on who it comes from.
Yeah.
Right.
So I know you were introduced to hip hop from an like older person. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody kind of said, "Hey, check this out," or you heard them listen to it, you picked it up, whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that luxury because we got kids that are latchkey kids, and they may not have a dad in the house, so maybe their mom doesn't really listen to hip hop like that, so they pick up on whatever they pick up on,
Right.
and whatever their friends. But I think in the beginning of us doing this show, I would always ask this question about: do you think it's important to usher your children, your nieces and nephews, and teach them how to embrace hip hop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for us, like what we listen to in the house, like of course our kids would hear it, but when we hear them listening to some, like if I hear my kid listen to something on TikTok, TikTok always gets old shit and they do dances and then whatever. If I hear that, like if it's something that samples something or whatever, like we got to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, do you know where that came from?
Right.
It's important to me that you understand that.
Right.
But then from us doing that, like they go find shit on their own.
Yeah.
But like if everybody's not doing that,
yeah,
you don't know what the fuck that stuff is.
No, that's facts.
I mean, I think we come from a wonderful place where we had videos and we had all kinds of different music channels. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course they have Spotify creates playlists and it'll say like 90s R&B or 90s hip hop, but it's different when your mom or your dad is telling you, I was listening to this shit and I was breakdancing off a wall, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Breakdancing off of a wall?
Whatever.
Fuck.
And I mean I understand that it's got to be a vibe,
right?
Because it's still got to be a vibe with us too,
right?
But I think meaningfulness behind the song is just, to me, is important.
Yeah.
It's important today as well as 40 years from today, because at the end of the day, like EPMD said it recently in an interview, they said, what you make when you young, obviously you ain't gonna make when you 40, right? It's like, but if you think it's smart when you're young and you make music that's timeless, so 40 years later, you can still go out and perform that same song with no problem.
You say you're gonna write a whole album using Chat GPT.
Hey, go for it.
Go for it.
Why not?
Might be your best shit ever.
Right.
I like my kids. I think my kids are fortunate because I have adult kids, but I've always had a studio, always. So they've always been privy to it, and then even when they showed interest in it, because when the era that I grew up doing this, it wasn't something that was liked by my mother. She didn't like that shit. Get that shit out of here. All of that. It wasn't. There was nothing nurturing about what I was doing.
Right.
And so, like with my kids, I if they showed interest in it, man, I let them have it. You know, like every piece of it, like using it even as discipline. Like with my son, I remember he was talking out of place in class or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I made him memorize a Gangstar song, and then he had 24 hours to do it, and then recite it to me without the music, without fucking up if he didn't want to get in trouble. But also having him listen to a lot of old school hip hop, he knows a lot, and then he listens to it on his own now too. And he, like his friends, he's 26, and his friends, when he's either playing something or they're around one of their parents or something, and he's like, running his mouth about what he knows and everything, not running his mouth, I shouldn't have said that, but whatever. But he's, just talking, and they're like, man, how the fuck do you know that? You know what I mean? But he grew up in it. And so, I think it's important, and that's cool that you guys do that with your kids, that you sit down to have that conversation. It's important in order for you, like in any aspect of anything, you can't get anywhere if you don't know any history of something. You know what I'm saying?
You know, like I think it's really important because like I didn't like to read when I was in school as a youngster because just the whatever we were given just didn't interest me. But with hip hop, I was like, oh, I want to read that. You know, I want to. What that say? You know, like I want because it was an interest. And like when I started listening to like people like LL Cool J, he was. I remember he used a word in one of his rhymes that said devastator. He said devastating, and I was like, what does that word mean? I went to the dictionary on my own to look that word up to learn to see. Oh, that's what. And he made that word rhyme with this word. So that was the type of stuff that like it was an education. Like hip hop
was an education back in the day.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet or whatever, and then you had to wait for songs to get to one place to the other, or somebody happened to have a cousin from somewhere or something and get brought a tape or something to somebody, and you would get information about other cities, other towns, other states via music.
Yeah.
Yeah, or clothes.
Yeah.
That's what they're wearing.
So I just think it to me like the vibe is important, but I think the content of the music is important too. You should be able to have a conscious amount of the ability, should I say, to be able to compose words in a way that will let people know that you got some type of intelligence.
Love the way you put that. Absolutely.
Back when rap was smart.
Word. Okay.
Now, does the Chicago Museum do they consider drill music as hip hop?
Well, there is a lot of up in the airs with that, right? For example, like, and here's just one example that I give. So y'all heard of Katie Got Bands, right? So she's a drill artist, right? So I don't personally like drill music myself because I've tried to listen to it and I'm just like,
He said he tried.
I tried and I'm just like, I don't, but I'm not of that generation, right? So Katie Got Bands. One day, a guy came to the museum. I don't even know who this guy's name is, what his name is, but he was a friend of Katie Got Bands. He came in there, and we have Katie Got Bands in the museum, right? We have her picture. So he sees her picture, and he's like, "Oh my, y'all got my girl in here." He's like, "I'm gonna call her and let her know if she know she in here." So he gets on the phone. He calls, "Yeah, I'm at the Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Museum. Did you know they got a picture of you in here?" She's like, "What? We got a museum?" She's like, "Where?" He's like, "Right over here on 45th in Indiana." He was like, where you at? She's like, man, I'm 15 minutes away. He's like, oh, you should stop through. So 15, 20 minutes later, she pops up at the museum.
Nice.
She come in, this all she doing is just like, she looking around like, and then this is what she said to me before she left. She was just like, I know some of the music that I've made over the years ain't been the best music, but I did it because I was trying to please my peers.
Right.
She's like, but what I've just seen and here today helped me to realize that I need to change my music. She's like, because I want a legacy. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
And not feel some type of way about the things that may be left in here.
Right. Right.
Goes back to that.
So when I heard her say that, I was just thinking like, well, what may be going on in the heads of some of these other drill artists?
I'm pretty sure, like very similar. Because since you said that, last weekend I was watching YouTube Mellow Bucks, which is another female drill artist from Chicago. Mellow has a way of saying things.
Yeah.
And like she can command attention.
Right.
She got an amazing personality.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, we talk about this a lot on the podcast. Like people generally in that genre of music, right? Their environment is very unique.
Yeah.
To almost any other subculture, right?
Right.
And you kind of really can't express passionately something that you don't know,
right?
Something that you don't understand,
right?
So it's like, this is my environment. This is where I come from. This is what I'm passionate about. I also am doing music for my peers because those are the only people I'm around anyway.
Exactly.
And that's part of the clout with the young people as well. But you see, when they leave here and they kind of, expand and go places and tour and things, that shit always gradually changing because they're taking on more culture. They're learning new things.
Yeah.
And you can't talk about the same thing when you know better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think it's amazing that from her going in there and seeing that was the perspective that she left with.
Yeah, I was totally shocked because she was just like, she's like, I'm getting older and I want people to listen to my music and get something from it other than some of the messaging that they put in the songs that they make. You know, because again, like EPMD said, if you 40 years from now, will you be okay with playing that type of stuff that you played when you were 17?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if the answer is no, then you probably need to reconsider making the type of music you make.
Slow down on that.
I think another part of that is because I always say it, for every person that raps and doesn't really know how to freestyle, inside they're just dying to be a freestyle rapper. Every rapper's dying to be like a dope ass MC. They want to be able to do that shit.
Because everybody wants to fucking freestyle. Fucking zoologist, gynecologist, chef, freestyling is fucking dope.
And I mean, like, I just think that if you're rapping and you're not saying nothing, what's the point?
Right.
Like to me, rap was always dope when you be like, man, you heard what he said?
Yeah.
He made that rhyme with, man, you know. So, but if you ain't saying nothing, it's like, what are you doing?
You're talking about shit. But to their peers, they're talking about stuff.
Yeah.
That's but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's very unique subculture, because it's like the people who should get it.
Right.
And they're literally talking to each other in the music. So, you know, it's for them.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
We just got invited to the party.
Right.
Yeah. And again, there's different styles of rap.
Again, from time to time.
Right? Like you know, when you talk about rap in general, you can go through conscious rap, you can go through vocabulary, you know, lyrical content, you can go through love rap, right? You know, comedy, you know, but then you got the drill, right? You got, you know, gangster rap was popular in the late 80s and early into the 90s. I mean, that was the big thing, you know, gangster rap. So it was just like, you know, and then you had the 5%ers when they was, you know, the knowledge of self.
Right.
Everybody, you know, trying to teach, you know. So, you know, but I just think at the end of the day, it should have some substance.
So that.
Can't be bad at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Most significant hip hop song ever made, in your opinion?
We were just talking about Common's. I used to love her, right? Because
that song caused a whirlwind of shit.
And here's the thing: when I first seen it in the video, when I heard the song and seen the video, I was trying to wonder like who he was talking about, like what girl is he talking about, right? Is he gonna reveal her or whatever? And then when he said, because who I'm talking about is hip hop, I was like, dope. So once you got the concept, it's just like, oh wow, you know.
Yeah.
And so you know, even to this day, people is unraveling some of that and realizing that the whole concept of putting that song together, that's what I'm talking about in terms of being creative and intuitive with, you know,
and all that kind of stuff.
You know, messaging and all of that, you know, to where it's almost like a movie playing out and you trying to wait to the end to find what happens at the end of the movie, right? You know, he's like, because what I'm talking about is hip hop. It's like, oh, that's dope. So I'm saying that because in the 2000s, there was a group of women that came up with a concept to highlight women in Chicago hip hop. They called themselves, they named it I Still Love Her, right? It was a girl named Lady Gemstar and her homegirl Alicia. And they created this whole movement to just project positive, you know, the positive, you know, contributions to women in Chicago hip hop. But they titled it I Still Love Her, right? And so, which is a play on what Common was saying, I used to love her. And so I was just like, wow, that's kind of dope. So I think that is one of the songs, especially from coming out of Chicago, that even still to this day, people feel that it's one that it would never get old. It would never get old, and especially if you could play that song for somebody the first time, and they can hear that and may not even know, they may be thinking the same thing that I thought, like he talking about a girl. You know, until he get to the end, and then you like, oh, he talking about hip hop. Like, oh, okay.
You make a whole damn movie around it.
So yeah, I mean, there's so many others, but that one in particular has kind of been like buzzing lately for me.
Okay.
What's the single greatest turning point in hip hop?
I think when it, like, there was a time when we talked about local,
Mm-hmm.
so we were kind of underground, so to speak, which was great. But I know myself and a lot of other people didn't want it to stay underground, right? Like I remember going into Walgreens and seeing Rap Masters or The Source, and I'm like, yeah, we ain't underground no more. Like we in a chain store now. Like so. I was like, man, and it should be. We on TV. We people making money. Like so. I feel like when it was kind of like a double-edged sword too, because even with the success, you still get you get all this other stuff too, but you've broke through
Right.
finally. You
Yeah.
broke through to where
It used to be taboo to break through.
yeah.
Yo,
You know, because at one point it was just like, oh, that's not real music. That's not real dance. That's not real art. What you guys are doing is just a fad. But nobody can say that now.
Yeah. Oh, most
They
definitely.
can't say that. And that used to hurt my heart when people used to say that the culture was just a fad. It'll be here. It'll be here. Y'all just got that for now. It'll be here for today, but it'll be gone tomorrow.
Yeah. That shit used to bother me. Yeah, it used to bother the shit out of me.
So
what are we talking about? And especially after you've dedicated, I don't know how many fucking hours and days and months and years, and it'll be gone tomorrow. What?
yeah. So
Fucking dare you?
I think in terms of the turning point was when it actually went commercial, because and it actually started in the 80s. It really did, because anybody remember the Fresh Fest?
Yeah.
Right? That was really the first successful traveling concert. Right? And it featured all the elements in there.
Yeah.
Right? But that was the starting point.
What's this? Sprite? Was Sprite the sponsor of that shit?
Swatch. Swatch. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that and so before then there was no rap concerts were really being successfully done until that. And then after that, concerts became a thing.
Hip hop concerts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was just like, okay, success. Like not just rapping in the park no more. It's
right.
We're going to do a show and get paid for it.
Has hip hop lost its power to motivate and inspire?
I would say no. Now I know there's a lot of people that's saying that hip hop is dead because of whatever they're seeing, but I don't focus on what everybody else sees. I focus on what I'm doing, and hip hop inspires me every day.
I was just gonna ask you. It still inspired you. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Greatest first line in a rap song.
First line. That's a good one.
Sorry about that. Gave me a headache.
First line in a song?
In a rap song.
In a rap
song. First line.
Oh man, I don't even know if I know what first line in a rap song. Because the first lines that I learned was the Sugar Hill Gang Rapper's Delight. But I don't know what the first line in that is.
It is well a hip.
Okay.
So, because
Wu-Tang.
Drop atomically, Socrates, philosophy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I think the first song that I gave a shit about, as far as like trying to learn it, was I Gave You Power off of It Was Written from Nas.
Okay.
I put them goddamn booklets, no CDs. To have his lyrics in your hand, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
I will never forget what that feels like. Or felt like.
I'm gonna need you to calm the
But I'm just saying, like,
that's
why I love CDs though. Like, I'm like holding that shit.
You didn't have his lyrics. You had a copy of his lyrics.
I don't give a shit. It meant the same as Nas.
You were not hugging Nas.
You know what? Take this. It's for you. I wrote it down just for you. Thank you. Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know a first line though offhand. Like, that I can recall. Like he just recalled. And it was only after he started saying it that is the first line in that song. But I can't recall any off the top.
Mine is I Ain't No Joke. I used to let the mic smoke. Now I slam it when it's done.
Oh yeah, Rakim, yeah. Yeah.
That either.
Yeah.
To me, that's like,
yeah.
but this conversation could last for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just keep thinking of something. Oh shit, what about that?
For me, it's Rakim. That first line, I ain't no joke. The first that first bar.
Yeah.
That to me, that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I ain't no joke. I used to let them like smoke. Now slam it when I'm done and make sure it's broke.
Yeah, but then when we start talking about like lyrics and like words that mean, I start, as I told you, Atlantic Star fucks me up.
Okay.
I want to choke every single one of them because I see so much in you that I want a better view. I swear to God, I throw this cup at you.
Don't for what? I didn't do shit to you.
Whoa, fucking
A stalker.
who wrote that down?
A stalker. Right. You listen to a lot of them songs. Them niggas are stalkers.
No, you know what? Yeah, because hurry up this way again. I swear, like whoa, sir. I don't know what she was saying. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of that shit was not right. We talk about Cool G rap all the time.
Yeah.
Sir.
I love Cool G rap.
Calm down.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, Cool G was good.
Cool G will
He just dropped a new song. I sent that shit to
you. You did? And you know what I thought about?
He's still about him robbing your ass. That's
yes.
That's why I sent
across
it
the
to
street.
you. I said he'll still rob you. I said something to you.
Yeah, you did. And I told my daughter, I was like, you go across the street if you see him, wouldn't you? Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. All right. Does the culture of hip hop find you, or do you find it? And is there a difference in how it molds you either way?
I would say both to the first part of that question. I look for hip hop, but hip hop also finds me.
He says that all the time.
Yeah. It also finds me. And what's the second part of the question?
Is there a difference in how it molds you either way?
No, it's not really a difference because like hip hop is a spirit, right? Like my brother Cassius D said this some years ago, and I agree. He was like, hip hop is a living spirit. And it's because we are spirits too. We have spirits within us, right? And our spirit connects to the spirit of hip hop. And that's when that magic starts to happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you wonder why you're feeling a certain way about this stuff. And when you're not around and doing it, you don't feel it as much, right? You know, and so like there's just this magic, you know, this mysterious feeling that you get, you know, doing it. And you can't get it no other way.
Right.
You know, so like I said, sometimes I could just go to an event and I could still have that feeling and I'm not even doing nothing. I'm just watching them.
Yeah. I watched you, not to sound like a weirdo.
Yeah, you hurry up this way again. Yeah.
My bad.
I watched you watch him.
At the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
And like you was all smiles.
Yeah.
But like it was cool to see someone who loves hip hop appreciate, you know, what we were seeing. It was all different kinds of hip hop, different perspectives, you know, and how they, you know, how they express themselves. But either way, you were standing there enjoying what you were seeing. And I had told him, I was like, it's cool to see that from somebody who has that big of an influence. Yeah. You know, on our archive basically.
Yeah.
Because you could take everything that you saw, put it in there.
Yep.
You know,
and that's exactly that's one of the reasons why I even went, because I was like, ooh, this whole lineup of women, I can get pictures, I can get video, and then we got this for the archive. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it was just.
Shadow Master said, "What's good, family? What's up, artistic? Much love, Shy Rock Nation."
Yes, sir. Yeah, so that was exactly why I value these times. Mm-hmm. I value these times, and because you just don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring, and to see people get down in their element, you know what I'm saying? It lets me know that hip hop is not dead.
Be ready for these guys because they need to be in the hip hop museum as well. Shout out to the KRA. He says thank you and salute to the Big Bro Heat and Unwrap for finding the hip hop spirit in us. These dudes are cold blooded.
Yeah, okay. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Shout out to you. It's gotta be Goose. Shout out Goose, man.
Yeah.
Shout out Shadow Master. Now go sit down somewhere, Shadow.
And I made some new friends that night too. Like some of those women were my first time meeting them that night.
I really enjoyed Smokey.
Yeah. Smokey.
fucking lyric, versatile.
For
My
sure.
man, shout out lyric,
Yeah.
man. But before I forget, real quick, man, shout out to Queen Zenobia. So they're having a birthday party tonight. Shout out to her. We're all invited. I don't know if you guys are gonna go or not, but I'm going.
Okay.
Oh, well, then shit. I'm
Queen
just
Z.
found out about it right goddamn now.
Queen Z. Yeah.
Queen Zenobia. Shout out Queen Zenobia. I wanted to let me ask this real quick. Tell me what the beginnings of, because it's always kind of fascinated me since I moved to Chicago about Shy Rock Nation.
Okay.
These damn chapters.
Yeah. Well,
what the fuck?
well, I know a little bit about the chapters. I know a little bit about Shy Rock Nation. How it was explained to me through Fear.
Okay.
And other people that I know that are in Shy Rock Nation. Can you tell people what Shy Rock Nation is and how it started, and
Yes.
and why it started?
So in the early days, we all represented Zulu, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most of us at that time had never even been to New York, right? But we knew the Zulu Nation stemmed from Africa Bambaataa and the rest of the people that was connected to the Zulu Nation. So when it started to circulate out of New York and come to other cities, it was just like we knew Zulu Nation was connected to hip hop.
Right.
So if anybody took a picture, they was doing this.
Right.
Even if you wasn't officially a member.
Hella time.
You see people, throwing up the Zulu Nation sign. And so at one point it got to where, and we was doing the same thing here, and it got to one point to where we had people like Who Rock Steady here in Chicago, who was originally from New York. So him, Cassius D, a couple other people, right? So they claiming the representation of the Chicago chapter, right? So Cool Rock Steady was saying that he's the head of the chapter in Chicago, right? And he was talking about anybody that's into hip hop, you got to bow down to him.
Okay.
So we was just like, no, we don't think we're gonna be doing
in real Chicago fashion.
We don't think we're gonna be doing none of that.
Right.
And then we realized, wait a minute, we from Chicago, we should maybe have our own organization to represent hip hop here. And so we started thinking, like, what could we come up with? And we tossed around a lot of names, but eventually we stuck on Shy Rock, which is short for Chicago. ROCK means respect our creative kids. Because at the time we was all young.
Right.
So, and then we added creative kind later, but it was just like Chicago, respect our creative kind or creative kids. And so we was like, yeah, that's what it's going to be. And so we was just like, so then we just said, this is what it's going to be. This is our hand symbol. Right. So
that's hang loose.
Yeah. A lot of people was like, oh, hang loose. They're like, no, because we was like, some people did it like this. Some people did it like this, so we were just like, how about if we just drop that finger and we do like this? And that was what we came up with for Shy Rock.
Fun fact, when I was in 3rd grade, I used to do that all the time because I liked the Beach Boys.
That is not a fun fact. It's a fact. It is not too fun.
So after a while, Shy Rock Nation also became what we didn't realize is that some people didn't understand that the concept was supposed to be built for all of us. Some people thought it was a South Side thing because most of us was from the South Side. But that wasn't really the case. It was supposed to be just like the Zulu Nation. Like Zulu Nation represented New York in its entirety, right? And so we was trying to follow suit with the same ideology, but it got so to the point to where, and the reason why the chapters came in the 90s is because we had an influx of members. So it was a lot of people joining. Then we was like, man, we need some order. We need to maybe form some chapters. And when really the chapter should have been for regions around the country, like Zulu.
Right.
But we created the chapters right here in the same city. So, and eventually that became like a war. Chapters battling other chapters.
Does each chapter have an equal number of members?
No, it was never really a certain amount that you had, but it did become. Did y'all ever know Heckle?
Yeah.
X-Men? Mm-hmm. So Heckle's chapter was chapter 4.
I was just gonna say chapter 4.
Chapter 4.
I know so many chapter 4 fucking members. It's crazy.
They had gotten to the point where I think they had got up to like 100 or so members.
Oh wow!
In that one chapter, and it was all because of Heckle.
Yeah.
Because they was recruiting their butt off. you know. And so and at that time, really, a lot of the other chapters had kind of just died off, and they weren't really doing nothing. So chapter 4 was really the most active chapter during that time.
And they gripe a lot.
Yeah.
Chapter 4 members gripe a lot about not getting the recognition they feel like they deserve.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say no names, but
Yeah.
I hear it quite often.
So, you know, it was when we came up with the idea, we thought it was good in the beginning, but it became poison for. So then we was like, oh man, we didn't created a monster now. You got
Right.
chapters warring against you. I'm better than you. Like people started equating the number. The closer you get to 1, the better you are. Like if you in chapter 1, that means you're an original member, when that really wasn't the case. So people was coming up with all type of ideas, you know, based on, you know, oh, if you in this chapter, you this, you that, you this, you that. And I'm just like, no, that's not. We only did that to try to kind of organize and have a little order.
Encapsulate everything.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, you know, because it was like we had one representative for each chapter, and that was to just kind of have some order, but it was never designed to kind of be like, I'm better than you, you know, I'm from the north side, so we better than the south side. We all Chicago. At the end of the day, that's the reason why we created it.
What is this? What is the state of Shy Rock Nation now?
It is right now. It's kind of like people represent it just from the heart, but the orderly part of it was such a challenge because I had left the scene.
You're the president, right?
I had left it, so I was the president, but I left the scene in 2000. I want to say no. I came back on the scene in 2015, 2015, 2016. And because I had got married and, you know, just getting my own life together. So from like 2003 up until about 2015, I was off the scene. So when I came back, it was all type of stuff going on, like, you know, just disorder, you know, the chapters, you know, all over the place, you know. And so I was like, oh man, we're gonna have to kill these chapters because the chapters ain't working. Like, you know, it's more of an issue now than it was when we created it. So, and then some people was like, no, they was diehards with the chapters, you know, but we wasn't really getting the work that we needed to get done because of that. You know, like, I'm better than you. I'm chapter this. I'm chapter that. You know, so on, so on, so on, so. And then some people was like, why is everybody getting in chapter 4? You know, chapter 4, who they think they are. You know, and I'm just like, oh man. I'm like, but at the end of the day, we just Shy Rock Nation. Can we just all get along?
What is the goal? Is there a goal for Shy Rock Nation at this point?
The goal has always been to unite Chicago hip hop. But at the same time, that was the challenge too. Because, you know, so we had like Zulu Nation, we had the Shy Rock Nation, we had Rand Nation, we had it was all of these nations and posses at one point that was all kind of competing. It was another
competing
one
for what though?
Yeah,
If it's
right.
unity, like what are you competing for?
Yeah, exactly. You know, but it was just like, it's almost just like if we live in this community and I'm on the east side of the block and you on the west side, and I put up more flowers in front of my house, and you be like, oh, he got,
Oh, you know that's a real thing.
you know, he got 25 flowers. I'm about to go get 30. You know what I'm saying? So it's
That is a real thing.
That is
And
a
that
real
is some
thing.
Chicago shit.
The block captain over here. Don't fuck with the block captain over there.
No.
Yeah.
Do not talk to her about her. She will cuss your ass out.
We bought this house. I wanted to do some shit, and the block captain said,
Yeah.
Taco stand?
Yeah.
But the other motherfucker could sell snow cones across the street, but I couldn't sell tacos.
Yeah.
So
I'll do it now. I don't give a fuck.
I knew somebody who
Been here too long.
Shy Rock Nation.
well, we still have, like, we used to have applications where people, and that just was to like fill out just like you getting a job, just to kind of get the sense of who you are and what you do, type of thing. You know, because like on the application they ask you what you do, like, you know, outside of the elements. Are you a videographer? Are you a photographer? Are you a writer or are you a producer? Whatever. And so those were questions that helped us kind of like figure out, oh, we can use this person in other areas outside of just the regular elements. You know, maybe he's an editor. You know, we was doing a magazine at one time, and we could use this person to help us with the articles. So, but it also gave us a eye into your mind and into your heart as to how well you are involved in the culture itself.
Right.
You know, so But it's just like he said, it's the unity part is really at the end of the day what Shyrock was trying to do is still what we're missing because it's still a big gap with us collectively uniting together.
What do you think that is?
I just think it goes right back to the community. Like y'all just said, you know, if I got 25 flowers on this side, I'm gonna put 30 over here. So it's a
Chicago.
yeah. Y'all know like during the holidays when people decorate with the lights, like during Christmas, people be competing, right? You know, you got Santa Claus on the sleigh. Oh, okay, I'm gonna get the reindeers and I'm gonna put Santa Claus. So it's just
I'm gonna put them on a surface.
right. So it's always been this just competitive, and then like she said, Chicago is so segregated. You know, like you on this side and you cross the street and you in a whole nother territory almost. You know, so it's always been like that.
I suggest a picnic with lots of chicken.
Yeah. So I don't know what it's gonna take. I personally don't have a problem with collaborating with other people, but it seems to be a problem for others. You know, like I don't.
Couldn't you just pull all like one day, like have a fucking Chirac
Okay.
barbecue or some shit?
So here's the thing.
I mean, Austin Day in Chicago was dope as fuck.
Like that was a miracle. That was a straight miracle
Shout out
because
to Ronnie Boykin.
I've never seen a human person sweat that much. God bless my
Ronnie Boykin, you know, definitely because we were all concerned about that. We didn't know how people was gonna respond because people on the north side was like, why is it on the south side? And why is it here? And why, you know? So it's all of these, you know, you never can please everybody, but at the end of the day, we were just like, we're just getting together to take a picture. That's all we want to do. And Ronnie was like, if you don't like this brother right here, that's okay. Just take this one picture and then you could be on your way.
Be on your
You know what I'm saying? And yet the magic that came out of that day,
Unbelievable. Like it was crazy because like when we moved here, my son was a little boy.
Yeah.
And a lot of those lot of MCs, DJs, graffiti writers, all of that, he knew when he was little. So when he's walking around with me and I'm talking to people and shit, and they go, "Is that?"
Yeah,
you know, he's like 6'1" now, and
right.
you know, he's a grown ass little man. And they're like, "God damn, I haven't seen you." And you know, it was dope. It was dope for him too, like to be there.
Yeah.
And I told him, get involved in every picture because you've been in. You know, he's essentially from Chicago. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, you've been a part of all of these things, and you know these people. Get in every fucking picture that you have been a part of. So he's in all of them. The producers.
That's good.
The breakdancers, the graffiti, and the big picture. He's in all of them.
That's good.
I told him to do that shit. You've been in here. You earned it.
Well, I'm glad you were there because you know some people willfully didn't participate in that project.
Yeah, and they were mad as fuck after.
They didn't participate. Many people didn't participate because they didn't want to fill out the form. Right, you know, so people had their reasons, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, man, that's the first picture that we've ever taken that was officially documented, like where we know everybody that's in the picture because we have the record, and that was the reason why you had to fill out the form.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
And I mean, I don't know why that wasn't obvious. Like, what the fuck you think they just say it's Saturday, it's hot outside, you gonna fill this out? Like,
that shit was amazing, and for it all to be pulled off the way that it did, man. Again, shout out to Ronnie.
Yes.
For orchestrating that shit.
Yeah.
And the shit was dope as fuck. Like we were high off of that for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Days.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Every time I think about it, I'm like, God damn. That was amazing.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
Did you all get a copy of the print?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. So
my brother-in-law stole mine. No, I gotta say that. I gave it to him. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I get another
That's terrible.
one.
Yeah.
Get another one from Ronnie.
But yeah, and that's the type of impact that we're trying to continue to do in terms of the work we're doing with the museum. Because at the end of the day, if you, for whatever reason, if you don't want to participate in something like that, I feel like you're suspect. You know, like if you say you hip hop, but a project like that come along and you got all these other concerns.
And that picture is making its rounds. Like for real. And because I also understand that you know, probably shouldn't be saying, but there's going to be an annual thing going on with that now called Oscar.
We're hoping because I think it's a great idea. I think you know, like I asked Ronnie, you know, because people that missed it was like, can he do it again in a couple of months? And I'm like, well, I'm not, you would have to ask him that question.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ronnie was just like, I ain't trying to share all my secrets, but I know what I'm doing. Because it took time for to put that together. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't
like,
it wasn't no overnight
it's
thing.
got the potential to be just like an Essence Fest. I
Right.
mean, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
the energy that was there and the
Yeah.
respect and love. Like I remember all I kept hearing was, "Oh my God, oh shit, there goes so and so."
Yeah.
And it was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like you couldn't really pay attention because it was like, who? Wait,
And
what
the
happened?
stories that were going
Yeah,
on
like-
around in each
Like
walk up,
I was
like,
a giant fly on the wall. I'm talking. I'm every week. That's why I was in so many fucking pictures. I'm like, wait, what the fuck did you say?
I was like, what the fuck?
Who said that? Really?
Yeah, it was, and some people said it was like a reunion because they
Yeah.
hadn't seen people in so many years. So it was, and then we turned around and made a documentary.
Yeah, Kari
So-
said I was upset.
Yes. Some people missed it, and it's unfortunate, but that's why it's so good to be plugged to what's going on, especially people that's doing stuff for the entire city, because
Yeah.
that was a city project. That was a city
He said
project.
I'd have stood next to every old op. And they were. They were all doing that. I never seen so many motherfuckers shake hands in my life.
Yeah.
You saw everybody out there was running for president.
Yeah.
It was dope though. It was
Yeah,
really dope. I
yeah.
got to see some people I hadn't seen in a long time, and
Yeah.
it was really, really, really dope.
Yeah.
It was a dope day.
I appreciated it.
Salute y'all for even hosting it there, man.
Man, and that was Ronnie's idea.
Yeah.
He brought it to us. He said, I want to take the picture, but I want to do
You
it.
know what that stems from?
Yeah. And that's why he said that's why he chose us. He said, because he said, I went to the museum one day and I actually looked, because he said he kept trying to figure out where he wanted to shoot the photo. And then he said one day he came to the museum and he stepped outside and he looked. He said, man, this looked just like the photo in New York. He was like, oh, this would be
Great
perfect.
day in Harlem.
Yeah. He was like, this would be perfect. And I was like,
They did
wow.
another one. I think it's Great Day in Harlem as well, or the Bronx or something, where they did all the originators of hip hop.
Yeah.
In late, I want to say 85 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was a playoff of all of that.
Yeah. So
That's
that was his idea, and I thought it was great because we ended like the two. So that corner property is our residence, right? So it's us, with the museum, and then there's a family that's in the middle, and then there's one person that live on the end. And so what we had to do was go get their permission, because we was like, we're gonna be in front of their door and everything with taking this picture. And they was like, oh, y'all doing a photo shoot? That's fine. So they, we was like, can y'all move your cars? So the cars, because Ronnie was like, no cars should be parked right here. And so they agreed. And so, yeah. And what's so funny is the next door neighbor to us, he kept saying every time people were standing on his porch, his alarm was going off. And it just kept, and he was on site at a job, and he said he kept looking at his phone trying to make sure ain't nobody breaking in his house. But it was just us standing up, trying to get ready for the photo. So he said, but so what we did was we just gave him a print.
Right.
After we, because
That's
we
what's
appreciated them for cooperating, because they could have been like, nah, y'all can't take no picture in front of my.
Hell no, I'm not moving my car either.
Yeah, and I'm not moving. Yeah, I'm not moving my car.
But yeah, we had the what you call those cameras that fly?
The drones.
The drones. Yeah, and so when they made the documentary, it was I was in tears. I was just like,
dope.
Wow, I can't even believe we did this.
Another great move for Chicago.
Yeah.
Real shit.
Yeah.
Well, looks like we're coming about that time. We might
Okay.
even went over a little bit.
Okay.
Tell everybody how to get to the Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Museum. What the hours are, the daily schedule of
Pricing,
everything,
So-
and how they can donate. If you're an artist out there from Chicago, especially, get your ass up off, get your thumb out your ass, as Shadow would say.
Shout out to Shadow.
Shout out to Shadow Master MC, and donate some shit. That goes for you too, Kahari. Send that shit and donate some shit, man. You're a part of Chicago hip hop history.
Yeah.
Send them some shit. I know you. I talked to you, nigga. I know you got boxes of shit.
So we encourage people to bring stuff. You could bring stuff to the museum. You could mail it, or just get in contact with one of us. Or you can go to our website, www.chhhm.com. Just connect with us. That's all. We're not hard to deal with. We're open platform type of people. You know what I'm saying? You know, like y'all just said, the picture was proof that we
Mhm.
welcome. Like we didn't say, if you're on the West Side, you can't be a part of this picture, or
Right.
if you in this crew, you can't be a part. You know, it was open to the city. You know, and that's pretty much how we do even the intake of the donations. Like you ain't got to be an MC for 2 years or whatever to qualify. You can just be the star rapping yesterday,
Mm.
and that you got content. You know, give it to us.
Okay.
You know, we'll take it in. You know, and
Yeah, Kari.
yeah.
No, you're not a ghost, bro.
And as far as attendance is concerned, how do you charge for either tours or you know?
So we right now our tickets has been $12 per person. We have group rates too, you know, young people group rates and stuff like that, and senior citizens. But that will probably be changing in the next 2 years because we'll be moving.
In the
We'll be
actual space, right?
Yeah, we'll be relocating. But I think I mean, $12 is not bad at all
No.
for a tour that you're going to learn. Like people have come in there and said, man, this was like a class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like literally a class. Like, wow, like people have come in there taking notes. We phone recorders. We don't we okay with people taking pictures. Most museums don't like you taking pictures or videos,
Right.
but we encourage it. Take it, share it, because that's how we're gonna get our scene out to the world for people. Like a TikTok video recently went viral because the group of people that came in that did the tour, they posted it on TikTok and everybody shared it. And they was like, people like, we got a hip hop museum in Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Shout out Prism. You're a little late, bro.
Better late than never.
Yeah. So or they can just, like I said, come down to the museum, 4505 South Indiana. And right now our hours are getting ready to change. Our hours used to be Wednesdays and Saturdays from 12 to 5. But we're getting ready to increase those because starting Tuesday, July 1st, we're going to open up with a brand new exhibit.
Yeah. Tell them that exhibit is again.
Specifically for the women in Chicago hip hop. And so I'm going to be there the entire week, the first week of July. And we'll probably be open probably from 12 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah, for each day. You know, and so people could come down. We welcome walkthroughs. Now the walkthroughs are free. You know, you could just come in and walk through and look around. But if you want what we call a guided tour, then it's $12 a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give them a little history.
Give them a little history, you know what I'm saying? And it's really an experience, not just the history, but it's an experience. Like you're gonna come out of there like you never went to. And the other thing is sometimes you might have a favorite artist and we can be talking about that artist and he can walk through the door or she can walk through the door. So it's not like we're not talking about a whole bunch of people in the museum that's deceased. Like, you know, we might be talking about Ants 13 or DA Smart, and he might just come through the door. And then he'll participate in giving a tour as well. Like, hey, you know, I did this so and so and so and so.
Shout out to DA Smart and Ants 13.
Yeah.
We'll be seeing here shortly, Ange. So, yeah. Anything else you want to tell them?
I just want to say thank y'all for having me.
Thank you.
Finally have got here to be a part of this. And I think this is a beautiful platform. I think we all have room to tell our stories, document our stories, and share our stories. So keep doing what y'all doing because we need it. You know what I'm saying? You know, despite what some people may say. But this is kind of like, it's to me, it's a stamp of approval that, you know, yeah, so what, people are doing podcast shows, but if you're doing these shows where you're documenting and archiving and stuff,
right,
so that years from now people could look back. It's just like I used to watch Saturday Night Live all the time. They didn't celebrated 50 years now, right? And they still going strong. You can look back at episodes from the 70s when they first started. You know what I'm saying? And that is a record of proof that comedy is not going to ever die. It's always going to be here. So hip hop, people say, you know, it wasn't gonna last, but here we are in 2025 and it's still alive.
Still alive and thriving. And thriving. Look. Oh, wait. You turn it up a little bit? Oh, wait. No. I got it. Wait. Okay. You get it? A little bit there? Hey! This has been amazing, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for coming in.
something.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bonzo.
Uh-oh.
Shout out to Kari. Gave you the big hands up. Artistic.
All right, my brother. Oh.
You had to stop the music for it.
Oh, wow. Oh, look at here.
Look at that. Only at Unwrap.
Nice. Thank you, my brother.
Shout
Yeah.
out to you, sir.
Piece
Thank
of
you so
jewelry.
much for being here. Let's
Yeah.
go. Right back at it, like crack at it. Whoa. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Excavator, just like we said.
Excavator. Speed drop. Then effing amazing. Turn this down.
Nice little history lesson.
Little history lesson.
Yeah. Won't hurt nobody.
Little something for soul.
Yeah.
But let me just say this. I've said things. I've said a lot of things. I've said a lot of things on this podcast since we've been doing it.
A little bit.
Talk to a lot of people. And I can say this one fucking thing. And I need you to really listen to me right now. We are the coolest in the motherfucking city. I keep telling you motherfuckers, boy. This is Unwrap the goddamn podcast. You know what I'm saying? You better get involved, baby. Get involved, goddammit. And we'll be back at it like crack at it next motherfucking Friday at 8 goddamn 30, just like always. You know what it is. This is your boy, Heat Detective, D. Najmino, artistic in the building. Goddamn Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Museum. Get your ass out there to go see it. The exhibit, the Ladies of Hip Hop.
Yep.
Give me the address one more time.
4505 South Indiana is the address.
Yeah. So go find yourself some business over there. You know what I'm talking about? Make a goddamn donation. If you're a rapper, make a goddamn donation. You know what I mean? You know what it is. We out this piece.